Hello everyone and welcome to another short tutorial where I'm going to show you how to rig a character from scratch, and I'm going to go through the process of rigging this character and creating joints to make him move, do certain things. All right, I'm going to show you all of those processes. Hopefully at the end of the session you should be able to rig the character, to animate it and make it move and do certain things. All right, so let's get right into it. I'm going to undo and start from the very beginning. So the next thing I'm going to do is activate my X-ray joints. You can also do that here. If you go to shading, X-ray joints is activated. What this does is when you create joints, you can see through the character, making it easy for you to follow the process. Now, the next thing we have to do is change our menu set from modeling, because we're going to be using rigging tools. So we're going to change it from modeling to rigging so that we can have access to this new set of menus such as skeleton, skin, deform, and constraint. So what I'm going to do is hit my space bar and come right here to the front view. I'm going to start by creating joints, and the first joint I'm going to create would be right here, here at the pelvis, all right, somewhere there at the groin, and I'm going to go up the hierarchy. Now that we are here in the rigging tab, I'm going to go to skeleton right here at the top. There's this option that says create joints. So that's the first tool we're going to use. And I would like to make it centralized. So I'm going to click somewhere here to create my first joint. I'll click, and I don't know if you can really see it. And so that's the joint created there. And I'm going to go to my move tool just to show you that the joint has been created. The next thing I would like to do is to duplicate that. I'm going to hit 4 so that we can rather see the joints very well. Now, if you think the joint is quite small, you can come right here to display and go right down to animation, and you can see the joint size. So you can also change the size of the joint. Something like that should be fine. And you can also change the radius here at the top here where you have the channel box radius. So this is fine. I'm going to duplicate that, and because I want to create the joint chain for the spine. So I'm going to do Control D, and I'll just pull it up like that, somewhere there. Now, depending on how complicated or easy you want your character to be or be animated, that will also depend how many joints you want to create. But for this, we're going to keep it quite simple. I'm going to make another copy, Control D. I'll put this right here at the chest region. I'll do Control D and have one for the neck. So I'm going to select the mesh itself. I want to create a layer for the mesh, another layer for the joints, and one more for the controllers. So with the mesh selected, I'm going to come right here where you have the display panel. So make sure the mesh is selected, and then we can come here and click this new layer. So I'm just going to double click here, and I'm going to call this mesh. And I want to change the color just to make it a little bit visually easy to identify. You can choose any color of your choice and hit save. All right. It looks like I should go with something easier on the eye. So let's rather go with blue. All right, something like that should be fine. And I'll save. Yeah. And at this point, I don't want to keep on selecting this mesh mistakenly. So I'm going to come right here at the top, and there's this option that you can click to select surface object. All right, so I'm just going to uncheck it so that I don't mistakenly select the mesh anymore, because I want to focus more on the joints. So now that I've created a set of joint chain, which we can see here, so that's for the neck, and that's for the spine, and that's for the chest, and that's for the spine, and that's for the groin. I'm going to duplicate one of this, Control D, or you can actually hold down Shift and make a clone of that. This is going to be for the clavicle, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and I'll pull this up here. Just to make this a little bit more visual, I'm going to change the color of my background. Yeah, something like this might work so that doesn't really hurt the eye too much. Maybe this could work. I'm going to select all of the joints, create a new layer for them, and I'm going to call this joints. And I'm going to change the color so that it's easier to see. Joints, make it yellow and save. Okay, so it's now easier on the eye. So I have the clavicle created. I'm going to duplicate that and add this here for the shoulder. Now, this might look right from the front view, but it's always a good practice to also look at it from the other views to make sure that everything is well aligned. Now, that's for the shoulder. I think I want to do everything from the front view first, and then I can start making adjustments. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and make one for the hip somewhere there. Control D. I'll bring this down for the knee, something like that should be fine. Control D. I'll bring this down for the ankle. At this point, I would like to come to this view to make sure that it's well aligned. And I'm going to just do this somewhere there should be fine. I'll do Control D, one for the ball of the foot. I'll do Control D and have one more for the tip of the foot. Now, while here, I want to try and place these joints where I think they should be. So I'm going to put this right here by the knee and this somewhere there. Okay. So that's fine. Now I'm going to focus only on one side of the character. And once we're happy with that, we can always make copies. And I'm just going to duplicate this, Control D1 for the head, for the tip of the head, somewhere there. And here, I want to adjust the joints for the hand. So I'm going to actually go to the top view. So that I think is for the shoulder. Yeah. So from the top view, I want to pull it out slightly, somewhere around there. And this is for the elbow. Okay, I've not created one for the elbow, so I'm going to duplicate that, Control D, pull it down, and place it somewhere here. I'm just going to look at it from the top view to be sure that it's aligned properly. I'm going to pull this back. And one more time, come to this view here to be sure it's aligned somewhere there. I'll make a copy, Control D for the wrist, and I'll place it here. Okay, from the front view, looks like this is out of place, so I'm going to make sure that is well aligned. It's always a good practice to look at your work from multiple angles because this is 3D. You have to make sure look at it properly from multiple angles. So technically, we can work with this in terms of rigging our character. So like I said, once we're happy with the positioning from one side, we're going to do the other side. Now for this model, we're not going to create fingers because once you understand the process, you can easily create that. Okay, so now the next step would be to hook up all of these joints to create a hierarchy of joints. All right, so I just want to look at that foot to be sure that it's positioned properly. I'm just going to move this a little bit to the side like that. All right, so how do we hook up all of this? We have to now create a hierarchy. So the wrist will be a child of the elbow. So you select the child first, hold down Shift and select the elbow and hit P. Now you can see that there's now a connection between the elbow and the wrist. If you had fingers, you also go through the process and create multiple fingers. But for now, we're going to leave it like that and select this child, which is now the elbow. It becomes the child of the shoulder. It hits P. Now the shoulder becomes a child of the clavicle. You hit P, and the clavicle becomes a child of the chest. Hits P. This chest or the spine here becomes a child. I'm just going to look at the placement of my spine and it's a good practice to try and mimic the curve. So I'm just going to pull that spine there, and maybe that for the pelvis. Also pull it a little bit to the front just to have that curve along that line. All right, so let's continue with the parenting. Now we select the chest. It's going to be a child of this spine. You hit P. This spine is going to be a child of the groin and hit P. And now this hip is going to be a child of the groin also. So select the child first and select the parent and hit P. Now this is going to be a child. The knee is going to be a child of the hip. Hit P. Now the ankle is going to be a child of the knee. So we hit P and we come to this side so we can really see the rest of the joints. Now the ball of the foot is going to be a child of the ankle. You hit P, so select the ball first and then select the ankle and hit P. And then you select the tip of the foot, which is going to be a child of the ball and hit P. Now if you come here, you will notice we already have a chain running through, and the head is going to be a child of the neck. So you select the tip of the head first and then the neck next and hit P. The neck is going to be a child of the chest and hit P. All right, so it's a good practice to name everything. So I'm going to click on that and give it a name. I'm going to call this head. All right, and if you use your arrow, up and down arrow, you can go through the different joints. And so I'm going to call this neck. Enter. And the next one is going to be chest. So I'm just giving them names so that it's easy to identify. The next one is going to be spine 1. I'll just call it spine 1. Next one is going to be my groin. All right. Or we can call it pelvis just for easy identification. Next one is going to be my left hip. That's going to be the left hip. So I'll put L underscore hip. All right. Then I continue. That's going to be my L underscore knee. And the last one is going to be L underscore ankle. Ankle. And I'm just going to come here so I can really see. The next one is going to be L football. And the last one is going to be L foot tip. All right, so now we have labeled everything properly. And the next thing we're going to do is try to mirror it to the other side. Now, before we mirror, I'm going to show you one technique here, because if we want to bend this knee, for example, if we want to make this character bend this left foot, we have to select that joint and then we have to rotate it and then select this one and then rotate it like that to make the character have that motion. But there's something called hierachy handle, which I'm going to show you right now. It's going to make the process quite easy and more organic. So I'm just going to show you how to hook that up. Now, we're going to go to skeleton, and there's this option that says create hierarchy handle. Let's click on the option box first to see what options we have. So we have the rotate plane solver and we have the single chain solver. For this exercise, you're going to use the rotate chain solver. Make sure it's selected and then you can close this. How it works is you create a connection between the ankle and the corresponding hip. So you click on the ankle first, and then you click on the corresponding hip, and then you're going to have a connection that enables you to do this type of motion, which is more realistic in terms of human movement. Now, since we've done this, we're going to do the same thing for the hand because we want to create that connection also. So we're going to click again right here, create hierarchy handle, and we're going to select the wrist and then the corresponding shoulder. So now what do we have? We have this kind of motion that is more realistic. So now that we have all of these joints created, how do we mirror it to the other side? It's quite simple. We're going to come right here where you have the skeleton. There's this option that says mirror joints. So we click on the option here. Now we're going to say look for L, which stands for left of the character, and replace it with R. We're going to mirror across the YZ. If you look at the gizmo here, is Y and Z. We're going to select our first joint, which is the left hip, and we're going to say mirror. You can see now automatically it has mirrored that for us. And also you notice that the IK handle is also created. Now the shortcut for repeat previous process or command in Maya is G. So what we can do is select that joint and just hit G, and it repeats it on the other side. So you can see quickly that we've been able to create the initial skeleton that we're going to use to deform this character. And in our next video, we're going to create controllers for the joints instead of animating the joints directly. See you in the next video. Bye for now.